A lot of people are identifying with not identifying. I mean, chew on that one. So it's important to acknowledge that there is an issue and accept that there is an issue. You need to own it before you can toss it. You can't throw away anything you don't own. You can only throw away when you own it. So in this phase, in the first 5 fetters, we pretend that there is an I and there is an issue, because the delusion of an I and the delusion of an issue has created deep, deep scars in us. And you cannot just, flick a wand and then you sort it out. You need to acknowledge, accept, and understand. And in the first 3 fetters, it's about that. Acknowledging that it's there, accepting that it's there, looking into what it is, but don't do anything. And then just understanding, okay, this one has roots. I mean, this is not just a shallow feeling that I have. This one has roots. This one has been repeated the last 25 years of my life. This one is dictating the partners I'm with. This one is dictating the choice of job that I have. This one has dictated whether I have children or haven't got children. This one has dictated basically everything in my life. So this one is a deep one, this not deep in the sense of it being profound, but it just has very, very deep roots into emotions that we're not looking at yet. So right now, allow yourself to have the hundreds of rooms in the house. Allow yourself to walk around in the house. Take a look at all the doors. You don't need to open them yet, but just taking a look at it. Okay, there's an issue about that friend that I had in the 5th grade that did the thing I don't want to talk about. And there's an issue about my mom. And then there's the repeating issue with my neighbors, no matter where I live. And so you're just acknowledging all of the things being there. You're not doing anything. If you try to kick down the door and turn on the light, you're not going to achieve anything, because your mind is protecting you. The ego is protecting you. We need to do what they in Japan call kaizen, so small steps in the direction that you want to go. And the first step in that direction is acknowledgement. You just acknowledge. It's there. Don't want to look at it. I know it's there. At some point, by you just meeting yourself with compassion and meeting yourself with space to it being there, for some people, things dissolve just by that. And that's why it's so powerful for us to, whenever we become aware of there being an issue, it's so powerful just creating space to it, opening up for the unconditional acceptance. And unconditional acceptance is when you acknowledge that there is an issue. There's a door, there is an issue. You acknowledge that. You might open the door and start to see that, okay, there are things in there that I cannot accept. I cannot accept that I have wasted my life with whatever. I cannot accept that. The unconditional acceptance is you accepting that you can't accept. A lot of times when there are things that we cannot accept, we just close the door shut and then pretend that part of the house it doesn't exist. That doesn't solve anything at all. It's still there. Now it's just swept under the rug and that's it. There's a huge elephant in the room and that's it. It doesn't change the fact that it's still there. So unconditional acceptance is when you accept whatever comes up. Even if it's something you don't want to accept, it's fine, completely fine. Accept that you do not accept this. And that is the task for this lesson. There's some things that you easily can open the door into and go like, okay, I can accept and I can accept, I can't accept. Fine. Then you just leave it there. All the other things which you maybe put the door a little bit ajar, okay, there was an issue about that thing when I was 30, I don't want to talk about, there was an issue about that. So acknowledge it's there, I accept that it's there, but I'm so not looking at it. Completely fine. We get to that, it's completely fine. Remember that it's all about dissolving attachment. So when it feels like this is getting too much, It's a bit like when you do spring cleaning, you take everything out and then you look around and go, oh my God, this looks so much worse than it did when everything was just tucked away neatly into cupboards. This is a bit the same. There's nothing coming up to the surface that is not already present. There's nothing that is being activated that isn't already there. But you don't need to push it. You don't need to be forceful about it. I mean, hatred solves nothing. Love is the only thing that can solve anything. So it's very important for you to have compassion towards yourself and compassion to whatever comes up. And then you just create space for what is. And by creating space, I mean allowing it to be there. If you have a wish about, poking to it or looking into it, don't do that. You don't need to. It's going to resolve itself all by itself without you doing anything. It's going to completely resolve itself. And I know it might be complicated and difficult, and you do not believe that is even possible. The thing when I was 30, that was horrendous. That is not going to dissolve all by itself. That's only where you're at now. That's only where you're at now. If you think about the biggest issue you had when you were 15, right? Did that issue solve itself? Of course it did. Of course it did. Because you got time and experience and maturity into it. This is the same. This is the same. But by putting a lid on it, it's never going to be dissolved at all. It can only be dissolved by you acknowledging, accepting, and then understanding will follow. It will follow. It's like a tide, It will happen. You don't need to do anything. Just be compassionate towards what comes up. Create space towards what comes up. And then also have love towards what comes up. And I know that for a lot of people, I'm going to sound like, a Hallmark bumper sticker. And it's not meant like that. But it really is that with love, there's a complete acceptance of what is. When you love people, you completely accept them as they are. You have no wish for them to be any different. And it's the same with you. If you really love, if you really have love, no matter what comes up, it's okay. It's completely okay. And if you right now sit and have like, okay, I don't have that. I want everybody to be different. I want everything to be different. Then it's another topic that we're going to talk about today. And last thing I would like to say about compassion and why it's so important. It is that if you really think about it, the issue that you are thinking of right now, when it happened, if there had been compassion towards what happened, towards you when it happened, towards the situation, if there had been someone beside you and just sitting and being, loving you and creating space for the experience that you had, then that experience would never have turned into that very deep-rooted pain that it is right now. So it's kind of like an indication to you that because it didn't happen then, it is what is needed now. You need to create space. You need to have compassion towards yourself in the way that didn't happen then. So you need to be your own loving mother and protecting father. If you didn't have that, then be that now. And then I just again want to say, you cannot force anything to happen. Nothing good happens with force. It doesn't. Force is a very, very contracting energy. We need expansion here. The only way to dissolve, to untie a knot is expansion. It's not, pulling even harder. It's just expanding. So create space with compassion and love and see what happens, what dissolves all by itself.